Hey guys, we're going to talk really quick about the anatomy of the pipe band snare drum, what makes it a little different than other drums you might have dealt with, and kind of give you an overview of how it works, okay? So first off, we obviously have to carry it. So we've got, it's called a carrier. It's also called a drum harness. There's a bunch of different styles out there. These are called J hooks right there. Those J hooks connect the harness, or the carrier, into the drum itself. The post of the J hook just slides right inside the receiver, okay, and then that's the carrier assembly. That's pretty much it right there, okay. Now the drum itself, you've got the shell. The shell is basically a bunch of laminated layers of maple. There's several layers of maple in there, and then it's painted and coated on the outside to help protect it from the weather and the environment. Because it is laminated wood, there's definitely a possibility of, hot, cold, end up, it's called delaminating the drum. So the layers will actually start to separate, okay? It's going to affect the drum sound, and it can end up cracking it and damaging it beyond repair. So, so you need to take care of the drum. Make sure that you don't leave it out, outside too long. You don't, expose it to cold, hot, cold. If it gets really, really wet, make sure we dry it off and all that kind of stuff, okay? These right here, these posts, these are called drum lugs, okay? Most lugs on most drums are actually mounted to the body of the drum. They don't usually go all the way top to bottom like this. So the lug will be like here, and then the head will get, basically the tension ring will get screwed down into that, okay? Well, these are really high tension because of the design of the head and stuff like that. And so it's actually, instead of clamping to the drum, it's squeezing this direction from the top and the bottom, okay? I'll show you how that works. So you've got tension rings right here, and then you've got tension rods right here. So basically, as we continue to screw those in, the rings clamp down, and this happens on both sides, and it ends up pulling and squeezing everything together. Now, if you see, the bottom has only one tension ring, the top has two. This is because the pipe band snare is a very, very high tension setup. It uses a Kevlar head on the top. I'll show you the head. So this is what the head looks like. You can see it's actually fabric, and the fabric is Kevlar that's just woven together. It's just cross-woven and then coated on the outside just to kind of protect it from getting moisture inside and damage to the actual fibers themselves, okay? Yeah, so that's the way that the top is. And then the bottom, if you look, is actually kind of a mylar plastic, okay? It's just a clear plastic. It's very similar to the design of the top and the bottom of the tenor drums, as well as the basic, heads for the bass drum, all right? Let's see here. If you look inside of here, sorry, it's not very good angle here, but you can see right along inside there. There's a better angle. So it's actually got an assembly for a snare, and then you see on the outside here, you've got another snare. Okay, so a snare, all it is it's a bunch of wires that are kind of, it's almost like thin piano wire that are kind of like curled up. And then those snares, they sit across the surface of the drum. And then that way when, that drum surface vibrates, you get a much fatter sound instead of a dong. It's that crisp sound, okay? Pipe band snares are very different than most other snares because they've got both the bottom snare, which most drums have, and the top snare, okay? The top snare is kind of important to understand because if you listen, okay, when you get into that snare, I call it the snare zone, the area where the snare is strung across there has a much better sound. So when we're playing, we got to make sure that we're actually staying within that small area, probably about that big or so, that's in the center top of that drum, okay? We can't be playing outside of that, otherwise it just changes the tone of the drum, okay? The snares themselves have two adjustments. You have height, The height actually brings it closer or farther away from the head, and then the tension is how tight the snares are strung. If it's too tight, you lose that buzz sound. If it's too loose, any movement at all causes a lot of buzz. Okay, that's about that. So you've got a screw right here, and then a screw on the other side. One's for tension, one's for the height, and then down here, kind of see this. You've got the tension screws right here for the bottom snare, and the top snare, the height's adjusted by this. I'll go over with you guys another time how we actually tune the drums, but that's about the basics of it. Okay, the lugs, the tension rods around the top here, they're adjusted with one of these. This is called a high tension drum key. It's got a square shape to it. It's basically just like a normal bolt. And then here's the normal drum key. You can see the difference is pretty big. This has to be used for the top. This can be used for the bottom, or this can be used for the bottom. You don't want to over tighten the bottom, but this is not going to give you enough torque to be able to tighten down the top. Okay, that's about it as far as an understanding of the snare drum. If you guys have any more questions for me, just let me know. Okay.